All right, good evening. Thank you for being patient with us, folks. Just some different technological issues getting worked out. Hopefully you can both see me and now hear me. And we are doing a live stream for the impactful weather anticipated tonight. We've already had very strong winds. We'll talk more about these peak wind gusts coming up in just a moment. But we do have a weather impact alert that's going to continue tonight through Wednesday, primarily for the high winds that could create some downed trees, power lines, and possible power outages. It's the high winds in combination, in concert with the elevated fire danger and the fire risk that are ongoing. There are some fires around the region that these winds are certainly not helping firefighters to try to contain that. They're doing their best, but that is the main concern. So high winds, possibly damaging wind gusts overnight tonight, continuing into the day tomorrow, very windy, and potential fire risks that are ongoing. We do have rain showers on the way, maybe a few strong storms just after midnight. So thank you for joining us for this live stream. Welcome our Facebook viewers, WBIR Plus, or our TV side, and on our app at WBIR.com. Again, you can certainly keep us updated. Cassie Nog just gave me a thumbs up that you can both see me, for better or for worse, but hear me. Perhaps that's most important. Thank you, Cass. All right, so I hope you're having a good, safe night. Let's get right to it. Here are the peak wind gusts so far, and Cassie Nog helping to update this information a moment ago, including Cove Mountain coming in at 80-mile-per-hour peak wind gust. I want to thank Jim Renfro with the National Park Service for that updated report. That's within the hour, 80-mile-per-hour peak wind gust at Cove Mountain, which is in Sevier County, just inside Sevier County line near Wares Valley. And that's so far. 71-mile-per-hour peak wind gust. Cassie gave me that info a moment ago at Camp Creek in Greene County, which tends to be a favored area. The way the mountains are shaped and coming down the mountains at the base and Camp Creek Elementary School, those winds rush down the mountain where it widens out. And then as it widens out, those winds can really accelerate as they're coming down the mountains. This is what we call a mountain wave event. So 71-mile-per-hour peak wind gusts so far at Camp Creek. Cades Cove, Blount County, just shy 50. Look Rock in Blount County, 40 at last check. Again, these are all going to go up higher. At McGee-Tyson Airport for Knoxville, we've had a peak wind gust of 42 miles per hour. So again, we're going to go through all the details coming up right now, but just the big picture here, the main impacts will continue to be the high winds associated with the strong low pressure system, not really even tied directly to any thunderstorm activity. Now, we may also see a few strong to isolate severe storms, but I'll go ahead and tell you the overall severe threat as far as severe storms goes in East Tennessee is pretty low. Not zero, we may see a few, but the bigger concern is just the strong winds in general that have been blowing all afternoon and are increasing as we go through tonight and during the day tomorrow. It's a strong low pressure system. So we're talking about these high system winds. Again, an overall low severe threat, but it's the winds that are going to be impactful. So let's walk through all the details right now. I did want to show you, we hit 70 today in Knoxville after starting out near freezing. So here are the weather impacts. Again, it's for tonight through Wednesday, as you see right here. Here are the impacts. We're talking about high winds, a few strong, maybe isolated severe storms after midnight, and the fire risk. So it's fire danger and wind. That's why we have a weather impact alert tonight, and for continued high winds, impactful winds that still could create some downed trees, possible power outages, hopefully not, but that's what we'll still have in place as we get into our Wednesday, and particularly over the highest elevations where the winds will be strongest. But even in the valley, we could see winds gusting to 55 miles per hour. So that's a look at our main impacts in the timeline. What do you need to do? Stay alert, and this is a no-brainer. Avoid burning, obviously. But here's another thing you need to do. Our devices, make sure they're charged up before going to bed tonight ahead of time, because if we lose power, you want to make sure you have your devices charged up. Flashlights, batteries, that's recommended more than candles. This is just the general rule of thumb. Whenever we have impactful, whether it's severe weather or impactful weather, we have a risk for possible power outage. It's always good to have the flashlights with batteries as opposed to the candles, just safer. And again, charge your devices. And watch out, be mindful of potentially downed trees, branches that could create some power outages if they fall across power lines, possible power outage. So hopefully not, but that's a look at our potential weather impact tonight and on into the day tomorrow. So here's a look at what we're seeing right now. Again, we have generally a slightly lighter winds in the valley. If we went up a couple hundred feet above our heads in Knoxville to Lenore City, we'd see some pretty strong winds, especially if you go up about 500 to 1,000 feet. You don't have to go up too high. That's when you're really going to run into the higher winds. And particularly once you go up several thousand feet up into the mountains and up on the plateau, this is what we're seeing. Jamestown, right now, peak wind gust of 50 miles per hour. So again, just about 1,500, 2,000 feet or so in general up on the plateau. Crossville just shy of 40. And again, we're having some lighter winds, 25 mile per hour gusts right now in Knoxville. It's kind of varying. It'll get there eventually. We've had a 42 mile per hour peak wind gust in Knoxville, as you saw on our first graphic so far. Now, again, at Pigeon Forge, which is away from the mountains, 46 mile per hour gusts, Newport 38, and Greenville 38. But the closer you come to the mountains, again, that's what we're looking at. Notice how it really increases. Let me kind of zoom on in a little bit here. And again, there is Camp Creek in Greene County, right here in Horse Creek, right in here. See this purple area right here? That's indicating some really strong winds. Notice the wind direction from the south-southeast. This is perpendicular to the spine of the Appalachian Mountains. And that comes over the mountains from North Carolina and rushes down real fast, just like a roller coaster. What do you do when you're going up the roller coaster? You kind of go in relatively slower. As soon as you top it, you accelerate, downward momentum. That's why Camp Creek has some of the strongest winds at the base of the mountains on the Tennessee side when they're coming directionally from south-southeast. So that's Greene County, and look at what's going on here in the Smoky Mountains. I mean, just howling winds. This purple indicates those are winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour right now. So that's what we got coming in to the Smoky Mountains. Again, Jim Renfro with the National Park Service confirming an 80 mile per hour peak wind gust in the last hour, actually at Cove Mountain, which is, again, in Wares Valley. Let me take off the arrows there. And again, that's right about there, just inside the Sevier County line, so right about there, actually. Okay, so that's what we're looking at as far as the current wind gusts. Going forward, between now and midnight, those winds could gust up to 60 miles per hour on the plateau. And again, really focused, very high winds, particularly in the Smoky Mountains, and again, also in parts of Greene County. We're going to see those potential winds, 80 miles per hour plus in the mountains. That's possible tonight with that high wind warning. Now, relatively speaking, not as strong in the valley compared to the mountains and plateau, but still we could see 40, 50 mile per hour plus wind gusts in the valley tonight. Now we'll show you a line of heavier showers where we could see some focused, very high winds and possibly damaging wind gusts after midnight, even here in the valley. I'll show you that on our Futurecast in a moment. That's with the line of actual heavier showers ahead of the cold front moving in late tonight. But here's a look at our Wednesday. Look at that. We're still looking at winds 30 to 40 mile per hour plus across many areas, including the valley, and they'll slowly relax some later on Wednesday evening. And then it's going to snow on the plateau and in the mountains Wednesday night and early Thursday morning with flurries here in the valley. We'll focus on that more in a moment. I'll touch on it in just a second. But again, that's kind of, we got the issues now with the high winds to deal with. So here's a look at our wind alerts that are in place from now through 4 p.m. Wednesday. Wind advisory for the valley. And again, that's for a wind gust up to 55 miles per hour possible all across East Tennessee, and then some for the higher elevations. This also includes basically parts of Kentucky. Actually, this is an update. There is a high wind warning for as far as Kentucky, Harlan County, Kentucky, Lee County, Virginia. The other parts of Kentucky, including Laurel County, Whitley County, McCreary, and Wayne County, have been upgraded from a wind advisory to a high wind warning. So that's high wind warnings, higher winds than a wind advisory. So look at the plateau, and this would include parts of Kentucky, including Williamsburg, London, Corbin. If you're watching us from Kentucky, you're included in this. Gust up to 60 miles per hour possible. High wind warning through 4 p.m. Wednesday. So especially tonight, but even those elevated strong winds tomorrow. Again, wind advisory valley, gust to 55 plus. Look at the mountains, gust up to 80 miles per hour plus. We've got that plus on the end of it. Some of the high res guidance is showing there could be 90 to 100 mile per hour peak wind gusts. By the way, a little trivia, thanks to Jim Renfro, who is an expert on all the weather stations and air quality stations that are located throughout the park. So thanks to Jim Renfro for that. But he tells me the all-time highest peak wind gust at Cove Mountain in Sevier County above Wares Valley, which typically runs high on wind gusts, 110 miles per hour. I don't have the date and year, but that's the highest it's ever had wind gust at Cove Mountain, 110 miles per hour. So hopefully we stay well shy of that, but they've had 80 so far. Just some trivia there. All right, here's a look at elevated fire danger area-wide due to the dry vegetation, the low humidity, and the gusty winds. This is why the fire risk, this is really the big concern. We could see damaging winds, down trees, and possible power outages, but the two go together. As you know, high winds when it's very dry fan the flames until the rain gets here. That's always been our big concern. Almost there. It's just coming up on 8:30. The rain will be arriving after midnight and will help some, but those winds will continue to blow tomorrow, so we're going to still have to watch out for that. So hopefully that's going to help us tonight. Obviously, the big no-brainer, common sense is always rules. No outdoor burning at all when it's windy and dry. Always remember that. Red flag warning for particularly dangerous fire conditions located all up and down the mountains for obvious reasons, as we've talked about. So here's a look at the satellite and radar. Let's go ahead and get to the particulars. There have been some lightning strikes earlier in Middle Tennessee, as you can see right here from the replay. This is over the last 6 hours. Northern Alabama, but that's weakening. Now we have a lot of really dry air in place, and it's the same thing that's got these high winds going as the air is trying to moisten up, but it's drying out. That creates some momentum as winds come off the mountains in the valley and other areas. So you got that downward push of air with that dry air and gusty winds. In other words, the moisture is being converted to wind energy right now as it evaporates. So that's what's going on right here still, coming up in the Sequatchie Valley, Signal Mountain, and around coming up towards Soddy Daisy and Red Bank. But meanwhile, the heavier showers are located back in Middle Tennessee. That will eventually get here, but it's going to take until probably just after midnight. So here's what we're seeing on the radar. Just on the other side of the plateau, seeing some light rain. Let's talk about the impacts, and I'll get right to your futurecast in a moment. The highest impacts from this system will definitely be the winds, what we've already been seeing, what we'll continue to see more of, and we could see, again, possible wind damage, some down trees, and possible power outages. Now, the flooding threat, I mean, to be honest with you, we'd even take a little bit, I don't mean that lightly, but we need the rain to help with the fire situation. So sometimes you almost take a little bit of flood, not a lot, obviously, of course, but you almost take a little bit to help with the fire situation. But that looks like a low impact. Right now, the rainfall potential, it doesn't look like excessive amounts at all. It looks like a ½ inch to an inch. We'll take whatever we can get. Again, that will help. We'll take whatever we can get, but we need more in time. Tornado threat is very low, hail threat very low. So we're mainly talking about some damage and wind gusts and locally heavy rain, but mainly damage and wind gusts and the elevated fire risk. Those are the two main impacts and that we're looking at. All right, let's talk about the arrival. Now, let's focus on that line of heavier showers. They could have a few strong to isolate severe storms. Again, on a low wind threat. We'll talk about those now. The arrival time for that potential line coming in is going to be between 10 p.m. tonight, an hour and a half from right now, to 12 a.m. for the plateau. That's the Eastern Time Zone time range. So 9 to 11 if you're watching this in Central Standard Time. By the way, daylight saving time is coming up. This is the weekend for the time change. We'll talk more about that later. Midnight to 2 a.m. is when we're expecting in the valley. Some of our high-res guidance is a little bit slower, like 2 to 3 a.m. Sometimes they tend to speed up, that line does. 2 to 4 a.m. for the rest of our region. That's for the arrival time, not the duration, just the arrival time as it moves in. Here's our futurecast, so let's talk about it. Here's 11 p.m. Got that better range or batch of showers coming onto the plateau. Now again, whenever we see the heavier rain showers develop, strong winds above our head, but particularly on the plateau mountains, could be transferred down the surface because the dragging effect, right? You have that drag effect with the heavier rain showers. Those higher winds can be literally pulled down to the surface. So within the heavier rain showers, you can get manufactured high winds because they're already blowing real strong aloft. If you have heavier showers tap into the wind, they come down, whether there's a thunderstorm or not. So again, that's the point I'm trying to make as well. The overall severe threat as far as an actual severe storm is fairly low. It's not zero. We could see a few, and I'll show you that in just a minute with the line, but the heavier showers could pull down these potentially strong and damaging wind gusts. So let's move forward. At midnight, again, our high-res guidance is slightly slower than what it was showing earlier, maybe by almost an hour or so. We'll see if it ends up speeding back up, but this is the latest. So here's what we're looking at from wrong icon. Let's don't draw a front, Todd. Let's draw an arrow. Here's what we're seeing from midnight to 1 a.m. That line right here is approaching the plateau. Then as we go, and this is 1 a.m. right there. That was midnight. This is 1 a.m. So 1 a.m., it's got it right down from Jamestown, Fentress County to Crossville, Cumberland County, and down into the southern part of the valley. So still generally west, we have some showers just breaking out ahead of it. From 1 to 2 a.m., that's when this line of very heavy rain, potentially especially damaging wind gust, is rolling off the plateau into the valley between 1 to 2 a.m. So then it's between that 2 to 3 a.m. It's kind of working its way through the Central Valley into eastern areas. And then that 3 to 4 a.m., it's through the eastern areas to 5 a.m. and then it's out of here. It's a fast-moving system, so only about a ½ to an inch of rain due to the progressive movement of this heavier line of showers. But again, the high wind gusts could create some wind damage. The power outage is possible with the downed trees and power lines. So that's why we want you to stay weather alert and just simply be prepared. We'll be here keeping you updated tonight and early in the morning as well. And so we'll do our best on this live stream and, of course, on Channel 10 and WBR.com to keep you updated throughout the event tonight. So, and sleep well otherwise if you're able to. I know when it's windy and heavy rain, sometimes it's harder, but that will all be moving out as we go early in the morning. Now, here's a look at the rainfall potential. Again, it's kind of broad brushed, but there's not really any one area that has necessarily a higher potential than another. It just looks like a broad brushed ½ to an inch possible. Slightly lighter amounts where you're having some downsloping, Morristown, Newport, Greenville, and Rogersville. Because the wind shadow from the rain shadow, I should say, those downsloping winds, the rain shadow, and also the stronger winds right there. So that's what our rainfall potential. Now, just briefly, let's switch over to our potential snowfall graphic. We are looking at a likely light snow event for the plateau and mountains, specifically the higher elevations, what we call our horseshoe counties, if you will. Shaped like a horseshoe, with in the middle, not much snow expected in the valley. So that kind of represents the hollow part of the horseshoe. So the plateau crossfall, that's indicating about an inch possible, anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch. When? Wednesday evening, anytime after 5, 6, 7 p.m. beginning, but later Wednesday night. So you could see light snowfall on the backside of the storm system as colder air rushes in Wednesday evening, Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. Mountains, it'll probably snow 3, 4, 5 inches up at, Mount LeConte and Clingman snow, Coe, excuse me. And so that's what we're looking at higher up in the Smoky Mountains, probably 3-inch plus snowfall. It's not too unusual. We're still in winter. It's March, spring months, meteorological spring, but we're still in winter. Spring officially arrives March 20th. So that's a look at, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. You got to love the roller coaster swings that we typically see in March. All right, so let's kind of widen out, and I'll kind of recap what we're talking about here. We're going to have a warm and windy night. The cooler air really not rushing in until we get those rain showers, then thereafter. Now notice, here's a strong hint. It's 20 degrees colder in Kansas City. It is going to be a windy and somewhat cooler day tomorrow. We'll still be up around 60 in the valley. But jackets and coats, particularly on the plateau, those temperatures will be plunging once we get into the afternoon. And so we'll talk more about that coming up. But that's the 24-hour temperature change, a preview of what's coming. Here's this dynamic low-pressure system passing by to our north. Again, a lot of wind energy as it wraps up. The winds they'll still be breezy, but they'll finally relax a little bit more from Thursday and Friday. We'll still be breezy Thursday into Friday during the afternoons, but nothing like what we've seen today and what we'll see tonight and what we'll see tomorrow for Wednesday. So Thursday, colder, some light snow showers early, some lingering flurries elsewhere, and then drier and breezy, but somewhat improving weather, at least as we go into our Friday. So that's what we're looking at as far as that goes. So here's the big picture, and again, it's just a very strong, energetic, wind-driven system right now. The severe threat is there for Alabama and coming out of Mississippi. That's where you have more of a slight risk. There's not a ton of lightning with this system. Again, you got a lot of resonant, dry air. It gave us, with dry air, you can get cold at night and warm in the day, and that's exactly what we had this Tuesday. We were freezing 32 this morning. We had a high of 70. Really dry air the last couple of days, unusual for early March. So that's probably what's playing into that. But again, that's why the wind energy is the most impactful part of the system, and especially for us. But the threat for severe weather is greater to our south and west. So here's what we're looking at with our futurecast. Again, we'll stop it at 2 a.m. As you can see, here's this line of potential impactful winds within the line of heavier showers. Now, and again, within this line, this is where we could see a few isolated severe storms as far as the actual storm potential. Now, again, it's kind of just semantics. If you get a 60 to 70 mile per hour gust, does it really matter if it came from a thunderstorm or just the general low pressure? No, it doesn't really matter, right? I mean, both are impactful, both could do damage. So we're mainly talking about these type of winds we're talking about are from the system, not really directly tied to the actual storm. But within this line right here, we could see some focused 60 to 70 mile per hour plus wind gust. Because we talked about it above, strong winds, 3, 4, 5,000 feet above our head, really strong, like 70 to 80 mile per hour plus winds and higher. The heavier rains can drag and pull some of those higher winds down to the surface. So that's why within that line of heavier showers, it may be a 2 for 1. You get the heavy rain, which we need, you may also get higher winds. That's when we could see, with that line, early in the morning, we could see some power outages showing up behind it. So hopefully, no more fire spread. We're hoping for the best with that. And then the rains hopefully will help at least put a damper on some of those existing ones. And then basically, folks, we have to reset because the winds are going to blow again tomorrow. It will be drier again. There is a chance, some of our high-res guidance was showing that chance for some, and I'll stop it here in a minute and talk about the colder part of the system, but another chance for showers Saturday and maybe early Sunday. I know even if it's on the weekend, the best chance is to our south. But again, right now we need rain to help us get out of this drier pattern, and these systems bringing a lot of wind. That's the issue, okay? It'd be an issue anyway, but if you didn't have the wind, it wouldn't be nearly as big of an issue. So each one of these systems, we're looking down the road the next 2 weeks, we see some systems coming in. Each one of them has a decent amount of wind energy with it, and which is typical of March. So that's why we need the rain. Just keep that in mind if it rains on our outdoor events, et cetera, or even on the weekend, right? And I hear you, I'm off on the weekend as well. So here's what we're looking at. There's a look at Wednesday afternoon. Look at that. In Nashville, they may start seeing a mix. It's March. Of course they will, right? Yeah, and look at that. Now this may be too fast, but this, our high-res model's got at 4 to 5 p.m. Look at that snow breaking out. And that's for parts of the plateau by late afternoon, early evening. That's why you're probably going to get a light snowfall event for the plateau and the higher elevations up in Kentucky and Virginia as well, because that cold air is rushing on down. And so that's what we're looking at. That's Wednesday afternoon and evening. I'll just kind of walk forward. Again, this one, it may be a little overdone, but it says it wants to snow on the plateau, certainly by Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, and that all translates eastward to the mountains. In the lower elevations, due to the wind direction, northwest, that's a little bit of a kind of a skipping over the valley type thing with the winds. You kind of get a little bit of drying effect. So that's why a lot of times it'll snow on the plateau and the mountains with the northwest flow, not as much in the valley, although you can see some finger bands that want to develop because of our ridges in the valley. That's another topic for another day. Copper Ridge, Beaver Ridge, da-da-da-da-da. Some of the ridges tend to get those little finger snow bands we can see. So there's a look at, as we go into our Thursday, it's just going to be a colder day, and that's as far out as that model goes. So again, here's our recap, our forecast for tonight. And again, we'll have another stream coming up, likely probably just after about 9:30 or so before the shows at 10, 11 tonight. But wind advisory in effect here in the valley, high wind warning for the mountains. Again, high winds and heavy rain, especially just after midnight. Generally speaking, anytime between 11 p.m. just before the plateau to about 3 or 4 a.m. So about a 5-hour window. I know it's during our sleeping hours and overnight. That's the way the system's moving in. So it's going to stay warm and windy tonight with lows in the 50s. And then those showers move out by early in the morning. Now, staying windy tomorrow, there will be a chance for some spotty light rain showers redeveloping later in the day. But then the colder air moves in, 60 tomorrow, but it's going to be dropping into the 50s as we go through the day tomorrow. And that's one of the things I did want to point out. Let me show you this real quick for our Wednesday at a glance. Notice that 60, close to 60 is probably going to be midday to early afternoon. And then we're dropping down into the 50s once we get into the afternoon. So this is kind of what I want to highlight there. It's an interesting color. But that's what we're looking at for our afternoon tomorrow. That's that colder air rushing in. So jackets and coats tomorrow, and a windy day as well. So we'll have a wind chill. And Wednesday night, it's going to be raw. It's windy and cold, you know. And we'll all be reminded that it's March and it's winter in East Tennessee. And I know we just want it to be 70 and sunny, but we need the rain. So here's a look at our 7-day dry and calmer Friday, partly cloudy. There's that chance for scattered showers Saturday and part of Sunday. The best chance maybe just to our south. We'll have another update on that coming up tonight and next couple of days. And daylight saving time, as I mentioned, it begins this weekend. Set your clocks forward 1 hour before going to bed Saturday night. It starts Sunday 2 a.m. I know. This is the one that can bite us a little bit if we're heading to church in the morning or for anything out and about Sunday morning. We lose an hour's sleep, but we gain the extra hour of daylight going forward. So starting this upcoming weekend, we'll have those sunsets after 7:30. I won't talk about the sunrise, I know, for morning folks. But there's a look at those temperatures in the upper 50s and upper 60s, quickly rebounding. It's a roller coaster. We'll still have next couple weeks going forward. So that's the latest right now. Again, thank you for joining us. We'll keep you updated throughout tonight, overnight, and early in the morning. So you can keep it right here and tune back in on this live stream. And this is where you'll be able to find us whenever there's impactful weather impacting East Tennessee. Have a good, safe night.